Hello and welcome to TYT Interviews. I'm Wes Clark Jr. and today I'm honored to be speaking with longtime environmental activist Ken Ward, who's the founder of the Climate Disobedience Center, an organization promoting a massive, decisive end to fossil fuel era to avert the worst cascading effects of the climate crisis through the tool of civil disobedience. Ken, welcome to TYT Interviews. How are you today?
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate what you and TYT are doing. It's one of the few places paying attention to what's happening.
I'm really glad we were able to get you on. I mean, when I think about what you're doing, and you've got a 20-year history of activism in defense of the environment, could you maybe tell our viewers what incited this passion in you?
More like 40 years. I was thinking about that recently. The first professional job I had was a project coordinator for something called the Campaign for Safe Energy in 1980, in which we sought to win a safe energy platform in both major party platforms. Actually won an anti-nuclear, pro-renewable plank, the Democratic Party platform in 1980, and then watched the Reagan landslide. So this is kind of deja vu for me. I've been working as an organizer, campaigner, professional environmentalist since college, and I just have been trying to change what I do to be effective, based on the rapidity with which things are going to hell.
And what initially drew you to that movement and that calling in your life?
Well, I went to college in Western Massachusetts at a time when there was plans to build a nuclear power plant out there in the town of Montague. I went to a small alternative college called Hampshire College, and it was right up the road. And some folks up by the Montague power plant, including Sam Lovejoy, Harvey Wasserman, and a few others, started to campaign. And actually, Sam Wasserman engaged in an act of direct action, civil disobedience, by toppling a weather tower at that plant site. And that caused, and I noticed, a whole kerfuffle, a whole bunch of people paying attention. Why would somebody do that? What are the problems with nuclear power? So that was my first introduction to this. I've been, and I just read. I've been following what's happening and watching what's happening to the kind of destruction of the world around us. I think any thinking person at this point has to be aware that we're facing the end of the world as we know it, or as Jim Hampson has put it, that we're about to lose the conditions that make civilization possible. So we're in a crisis mode, and we ought to be acting and responding and, appropriately.
I couldn't
The thing that
agree
changed
more
me
with
most
you.
recently, I was an at-home dad for a few years, and it gave me an opportunity. This is about 2000. It gave me an opportunity to do some reading about the state of climate change, and that caused me to feel like this is the main thing we have to worry with.
I couldn't agree more with you. As a father, I feel exactly the same way.
It does change things.
It absolutely changes the entire way you look at the picture. I mean, what's literally happening right now in this country is that our children's future is being stolen from them. It's being taken so that billionaires who already have money can make more money when there's a much cleaner solution out there, and we all know it's possible.
Absolutely. And I think we're starting to see, well, first of all, we're certainly seeing a shift in kids' advocacy for the state of their future, especially with the Children's Atmospheric Trust lawsuits. This is a powerful example of that. But I also think we're starting to see some pissed off kids.
There should be. There should be pissed off kids and pissed off parents and pissed off grandparents.
Absolutely.
The science on this couldn't be clearer.
And it's getting worse daily. Even in the last week, we have new studies coming out saying that our timeline is down to nil, next to nil.
No, it's down to nil. We're at the start of a J curve right now in both temperature as well as saturation of the atmosphere with greenhouse gases. It's emergency time right now. People may not be aware of it, but whether someone's a Democrat or a Republican or anything, we're all on this planet together. Well,
I am hopeful.
I am too. I'm hopeful.
Well, I was going to say I'm hopeful that one of the results of the small silver linings to the results of this election are that our 20-year strategy on climate change, to the extent we had one, which did involve downplaying the problem, will be, blown away, and that no one will feel like we ought to be continuing with that there's any value to doing that.
No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the election of Trump essentially washes away the establishment for both parties and allows us to start over in a way to address these problems. Now, I wanted to talk to you specifically about the Anacortes Action. Can you tell our audience a little bit about your participation in that and the goal of it and the results of the action?
Sure. It's actually in Mount Vernon, outside of Anacortes. Well, along with some friends of mine, a couple of weeks ago, we went out on a Tuesday morning in October to 4 sites across the northern tier of the country and closed what are called manual safety block valves on 5 pipelines carrying tar sands oil from all pipelines carrying tar sands oil from Alberta into the U.S. And closed the valves and shut down the pipelines for essentially a business day. We did that because we're in a climate emergency, because no normal legal avenues for affecting policy are available or effective. And we feel like now is the time where thinking individuals should take an effective direct action. And that's what we did.
Now, just to make clear, you didn't destroy property, you didn't damage the pipeline, you all simply turned it off for a day.
I damaged a couple of chains. I had to cut one to get in and one that's on the valve, but other than that, no. We were simply using the pipelines have safety measures to shut the pipelines down. Our feeling is we're in a climate emergency. It was therefore utterly appropriate to shut them down because tar sands oil is, of course, one of the highest carbon-emitting forms of energy, fossil fuel energy generation, and it needs to end immediately if we want to have,
I agree with you 100%.
As you say, we're already past the point, but at least we can ameliorate the damage at this point.
Absolutely. No, there's still time to save us. Like, we've got a very, very small window now, but there's still time. I want to say personally, thank you for shutting down that pipeline for a day. And thank you for risking your freedom for it. And thank you for loving your own children enough to do this.
Well, it wasn't, none of us did it for the fun of it. We did it because there really are few alternatives. And I think that if you're looking at our kids' future, if you care about, global conditions, if you feel, as I do, very strongly that we need to consider the rights of other species and entire ecosystems, then I think it's incumbent on us to figure out what's the most effective thing that you can do. And I've tried all of the normal channels. I've spent 4 decades lobbying, litigating, doing public education, trying to convince opinion leaders and so forth. And those have availed us nothing. We've gotten nowhere. We really are at a point where I think people need to go out and take direct action and actually shut the things down. If we have a lot of people doing that, that might change the course of events, whereas talking about it has gotten us nowhere.
No, talking about it has gotten us nowhere. How can people get involved, Ken, and help you, both with the Legal Defense Fund, and how can they help you by getting involved in the movement to save ourselves from the climate emergency?
Well, they can help us directly by going to shutitdown.org, which is our support site, and also a place where you can get information about who's doing what. I think that, as I said earlier, I think it's an opportune time for people to think what is effective at this point. Under President Trump, given what we were facing, what kinds of things are effective? And I think that it's also time to hold the leadership and the institutional leaders of our environmental and climate movements accountable, because we've just failed. We've utterly, flatly failed after 20 years of work, spending a lot of time and a lot of money. and that we ought to start doing things quite differently. So I think I've been using the phrase, what we need from here is lawyers, love, and money. We absolutely need to start focusing on the legal system for reasons of defense, and also because it's potentially an effective route for raising the climate issue in a forum that requires, evidence as opposed to lies. So we need a lot more attention to the courts. We need lawyers to work on this, and we need, money in the sense of support for that. But I also think we need to approach this from a loving perspective, and love to me involves care for others and also a willingness to sacrifice. So that means people who are willing to put their potential liberty on the line in order to take effective action. So I urge people to go, if you want to do something, seek out organizations and groups, doesn't always have to be an organization, of folks who are coalescing all across the country to engage in direct action and do it on climate change. There's a lot of direct action happening out there, and a lot of it's incredibly valuable, and a lot of it's necessary. But I think we have to be careful that we don't end up doing a lot of direct action that leaves climate change out of the mix.
No, I couldn't agree more, and especially what you said about love. I mean, look, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, so for me, this totally fits with his entire message. And you're following his example. And I'm so proud of you, Ken. And if I'm in jail with you too, man, in a month or two after I go out to Standing Rock, I got to say, if we all wind up going to jail for this, at least the company's going to be good.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, and if there's I'm embarrassed by people who are calling themselves Christians who have voted and advocated, and obviously they haven't read the words printed in red in our Bibles. But I think there's a lot there to both inspire and also to hearten one as you face things like prison and jail.
Well, Ken,
so thank you.
What else can I tell people? I mean, I've still got about 5 or 6 more minutes. I mean, we can talk religion if you want, because for me, this is a religious calling. There's no other way to look at it. Our world and our families are in danger.
It is. I think it was nice that and sort of wryly humorous that Standing Rock in issuing its call to action in prayer said, we invite people to take action in prayer. We know that some of our supporters are atheists as well, so we don't necessarily require the prayer, but we do require the action. I think that's the way that we need to approach it. I think that ethical humanists also have, a whole set of ethical guidelines that call on you to look at what's going on and to not act entirely in your self-interest. And that's where we are at. We require more people to say, we're at a point where we're on the cusp of life as we know it, and we need to take, we need to be willing to sacrifice and take some risks, because otherwise we will continue in what amounts to a consensual public hallucination that there is no problem. So I don't know if that counts about talking about.
No, that public,
but in general,
that idea of the public hallucination. The idea of the public hallucination is so true. People spend on average, a television is on in the average American's household 6 to 8 hours a day. Their heads are being pumped full of poison at every commercial break in between the commercials by oil companies, agribusiness, and pharmaceutical companies, which are all tied together in like the troika of the hydrocarbon industry.
Absolutely.
And
I also think that people haven't. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I think that despite that, there is an underlying level of awareness and angst that something is seriously fucked up here, and that not everyone necessarily knows all of all the facts. And certainly, we have a hefty chunk of the population, around 25%, that just are going to refuse to believe they think it's all a hoax, and that somehow we're all making money off of this. That's my favorite part of the hoax theory. If it is, I haven't seen any yet. But I think we have a higher level of angst and awareness than is necessarily appreciable in the polls. And I think that history tells us that small numbers of people acting, with acting with strength and with conviction are what is necessary to shift large swaths of the population. And that's what we need to do.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, we're in 100% agreement on all this stuff. We both, and I think most of our listeners too, already recognize the danger. And the time is now for collective, nonviolent action in a spirit of peace and brotherhood and solidarity with people we're all going to die if we don't do something.
Well, so specific things are support Standing Rock, support people doing climate direct action, engage in it yourself, support entities like the Climate Disobedience Center, the Civil Liberties Defense Center, and Standing Rock activism. And if you can, first of all, support with money and moral support, and second of all, support with your bodies if you can. Not everyone can. Our action, we had folks who were in their 20s and people who were in their 50s and 60s, and often that's who's is available to take higher risks. So all you grandparents out there, let's go.
No, I'm going out to Standing Rock. I get in probably night of December 3rd, and I'm staying through the 7th, and I'm going out there with about 500 veterans. And we're ready to get our asses kicked, beaten, thrown in jail, whatever. We're going to live, we're going to, walk in the steps of the people who came before us.
Excellent.
We're down.
For that.
This is the line in the sand, Ken, and we're with you, dude.
Thanks.
So,
I wish I could join you, but I got one or two things ahead of me that like trial and getting ready to go to trial. I'm slated to go to trial January 9th on 4 charges that include sabotage, assemblage of saboteurs, burglary, and trespass. Two of those first 2 are antique Washington laws, in essence, that were passed to shut down the Wobblies at the turn of the last century and are rarely seen. So, of all of the things that with all of the charges, I personally think an assemblage of saboteurs is the coolest.
well, as far as I'm concerned, you acted in self-defense for yourself and the rest of this nation, and I congratulate you, sir, and I admire your bravery, and I hope you're an example that millions of others will follow as they wake up to the reality of what we're facing. For TYT listeners, please get in touch with some of these groups. Give your money, give your time, give your body, because it's on the line. Thank you. For TYT Interviews, this is Wes Clark Jr. Have a great day.